Next up is The Eternals. So, this movie specifically, I think, has been mistreated, I guess. Again, when it came out, I remember really liking it, and my friends thinking that it was pretty good, but not their favorite. And whatever, that's fine. And since then, I think that every time that movie comes up in social media and streams, people call it a snooze fest, or they just say that the last act, everyone always says the last act sucks, the last act sucks. And most last acts, I do think, in the MCU tend to be a little weaker. Rewatching it again, man, I gotta say, it's such a good movie. It really is. I think it's such a really good sci-fi. Like, it doesn't even need to be tied to the MCU. Like, it's just a great sci-fi film. And I like the serious tone, but it does have its comedy, and the comedy, I think, like 99% of the jokes land for me. Oh, something I did not mention in my Shang-Chi video: the score. The score is it leaves much to be desired, and I think everyone knows that goes for most MCU films. So yeah, that kind of sucks. And the color grading, yeah, I do want to give some cons here, some negatives. The color grading of Shang-Chi is not the best. It's kind of bland. The visuals in the fantasy aspect towards the end is great, but in terms of just overall color grading, overall cinematography, it's a little whatever. Now in Eternals, I do not think that's a problem. I think there is very much great attention to detail in the CGI, in the direction, in the cinematography. The visuals are just great. And I think you could tell, at least to me, that most of the film is shot on location. So, that just adds so much more immersion. And every single member of the Eternals is a great character, and they're all interesting. They have their very unique own personalities. A lot of them are cliches, but I don't think they're done in a cliche way, if that makes sense. Like the strong one, Gilgamesh. He's not some hothead, like crazy adrenaline junkie guy who's dumb. All strong characters are usually dumb. I think as I said, it's a great sci-fi film, and I think the ideas are really complex, and the struggles that the characters have to deal with, really complex stuff. What's our purpose as the Eternals? What's their purpose? And is it wrong to let humans, basically exploring free will, like with Druid in Babylon, I think it is, or Mesopotamia? Just that whole exploration of free will and humans being terrible to each other, and is this okay? Is free will even worth it? Because, I mean, look at the world. Not to get too serious, because at the end of the day, we're talking about superhero films. But I mean, when you look around, it is true. It's like, I know that's crossed my mind before. Like, is free will even worth it? Because look what happens. But this film does a great job of exploring that and showing the struggle that Druid goes through, and all the characters having doubt. Again, just really compelling, and I do think the action in this film is top tier MCU, and the CGI is really good as well. There's many scenes, honestly, I can't even narrow it down to that one. Usually there's that one really cool action sequence. I think almost every single action sequence in this film is great, and the way the Eternals use their individual powers is also very cool. Yeah, I think that even though the movie is about the Eternals, it's a superhero film. The movie explores creation, the origin of life, big sci-fi heavy ideas. The movie is very character driven, and I think at the end of the day, that is the drama of the film, the characters. The I don't think you're so focused on it's the end of the world. What's the plan? How strong is the villain? It's just, I think it's very focused on the characters and their relationships and their struggles. And that's great. That's great writing. And that's great for superhero films. Not to be too focused on powers, on the plans, the action. The characters themselves is what really matters. Now, a negative I will say is I will grant you to have is, I don't even know if there's a name, but the name of the deviant that evolves. I do think it was a bit unnecessary. I could understand from a writing perspective why the writer went this route. Like, it does kind of seem like a natural progression with the lore and rules that is established. Honestly, it could have been taken out of the film, and I don't really see it having any effect on the plot. So I do think it was a bit of a waste because it's kind of irrelevant. You know, it explores some interesting ideas. It helps what's her name, Athena, get rid of Mad Weary. Its only real impact on the story is that, not in the real sense for the characters, I think. So that was a bit of a negative for me. But everything else, it's great. Honestly, like, again, revisiting it, it's a great MCU film. It's a great film in general, and I will say I probably liked it more than Shang Chi, but that's just because of my own personal preference, not in a objective sort of way.